All right. I think we're live. I think we've done it this time. Yep, looks like everything's going good and I have tried to set up the chat. The sizing's already off. God, come on. Okay, I can fix that one. There we go. Fix a little bit. But there's only one chat this time. So here we go. Hey, it's just me. It's just Sean. Once again, everyone was busy. I guess they've been busy for the last few weeks. I'm not really sure why they weren't podcasting while I was gone, but I was gone and I came back and they were busy again. And I was like, well, I haven't podcasted in 3 weeks, so we're gonna do a show. So it's just me, and I fixed the chat this time. It's looking good. Anyway, what was I doing? I was away. Where did I go? I went to Europe and Africa. That was pretty great. I hit up Portugal, where it rained like the whole time, which that was a bummer. Apparently it was nice and sunny like right before I got there, and then it just got tons of rain. And then so I met a random person like at the hostel, and they were like, "Hey, does anyone want to go do like a surf lesson tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah, fuck it, let's just go surfing." So I went surfing for the very first time, which is funny because I've lived on the west coast here on the Pacific Ocean for like a decade, never once surfed. First time I go surfing, I do it in the Atlantic Ocean, so that's kind of funny. But Portugal was nice once the rain stopped. And then I went down to Morocco, so that was my first time in Africa. That's pretty exciting. I've done 6 out of the 7 continents now. Very proud about that. I'll get to 7 sooner or later. It'll happen. I want to go everywhere. So Morocco was a lot warmer, and so that was nice. And then I did a couple days back in Spain just to catch my flight. But that's been me for the last few weeks. If you were like following my Blue Sky or my Instagram, you probably saw some fun photos and stuff. But yeah, just traveling around, already planning the next one, always planning the next one. So yeah, so like I said, this is gonna be a solo cast. I'm not sure what is up with Paul or John. They just said they were both busy this week, but and I'm doing this early. We're live early right now. I was gonna do it at the usual time, but then I was like, I want to go see a movie, and I was like, well, I actually have tomorrow. I don't have anything going on in the evening, so I could go to the movie tomorrow. But the show times for the movie, what's the movie called? It's that one with Kristen Stewart and Steven Yeun where they're like kind of robots or something. It's like at like 1 in the afternoon tomorrow. Like what? Who can who can do that? Whereas tonight it's like 7:30, and well, the show's usually at 7, Pacific time. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just kind of hanging out anyways. So let's just do the show. Um, I'm going to assume it's a bit of a shorter one since it's just me, but there is also a lot of news to go through. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, this is the top down perspective. It's February 6th. As I said before, I'm Sean Booker. Nope, no one else is here. But let's just get into it. Let me play that for the show. All right, so what have I been playing? So I actually didn't play anything when I was gone. I dragged my Switch and my Steam Deck around 3 countries, didn't turn them on once, which was wild. All of my bus rides and my plane trips, I was just watching stuff. And, I'm not going to get into it too deep, but I'll just say, I watched all of Squid Game Season 2, finished up all of Silo Season 2, all of Creature Commandos. What else did there was something else. Harley Quinn I caught up on. Severance I caught up on. So yeah, I watched a lot of stuff. But when I got back, I did play some games. So I have been playing the game, a few games this last week, and I will talk about those. I am also allowed to say that I'm playing Avowed. That is literally all I'm about to say about it. I got the code for it while I was gone. Obviously couldn't play it then, but I am playing Avowed, and I can't talk about it for a week or two. And when they in the email when they send the code, they were like, hey, if you're going to post that you're playing the game, please make sure you mention that the code was supplied by @Avowed Game and @Xbox. I don't know why that's important to say, but duh, of course that's who supplied the code. I don't know. For some, that you rarely get that. This is just a little peek behind the curtain. They rarely say can you mention where you got the code from or something? But for some reason this time they did. So there you go. Odd. I don't know what the reason behind that would be so people don't think I stole it, because if I stole it, then I'm not like tied to any kind of embargo. I could just start talking about it. But clearly, I'm following an embargo. All I'm doing is saying that I'm playing it, which is that's the rule. I'm allowed to say I'm playing it, and that's it. So, but anyway, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm playing Avowed. I'll talk about that in a few weeks. But let's talk about some stuff I actually have been playing. Because like a lot of stuff came out on Game Pass while I was gone, and I came back and I booted up my Xbox, and I was very excited. Citizen Sleeper 2 is out. I haven't started that one, but I have started Lonely Mountain Downhill, the sequel to Lonely Mountain. Oh crap! What was the bike one? Okay, Lonely Mountain Downhill is skiing. Lonely Mountain, or is Downhill? No, sorry. Ugh. Downhill is the bike one. I'm playing Lonely Mountain Snow Riders, which is the new one. That's you're skiing instead of biking down the hill. So I love the Lonely Mountain games. This one is just as good as the last one. This one takes forever to load for some reason. I don't really know what's going on with that, because it's a lot, it's kind of like some pretty like low poly assets in there, but maybe just like the snow kind of physics is really taxing the levels, because you can it looks pretty realistic. You can see the trails you're kind of going through, and that actually helps when you crash and they put you back at a checkpoint. You can see the path you just took because the outline from your skis are there, which is great, because it means if you kind of like did a scenario where it's like, oh, I took that turn too wide and it made me slam into a rock or off a cliff, then I know when I get to that turn I got to do it sharper, and I can kind of not quite like a Ghost, but kind of similar idea of like learn from your mistakes kind of, and actually see the pathway and then adjust in real time. So that's a super cool game, because it's like really chill, but also like a lot of focus at the exact same time, and it makes for a really kind of nice combination there. And then they do also have like a Zen mode, which I haven't dove into, but I'm assuming there's just like no timer. It's just you kind of going down like an endless hill or something. Actually, there might even be just like an endless mode, and that might be separate. But I don't know. It's cool. If you've never played the Lonely Mountain games, you're either on a bike or you're on a pair of skis. You're just going down a hill, and there's a couple like clear routes of where you should be going, and there's shortcuts and stuff if you want to try and get a little fancy with it and go off jumps and try and skip portions. And it's like a speed kind of race thing. And how fast can you get down the hill? How clean can you get down the hill? So yeah, there's that. People are asking, which one would you recommend if I haven't played either? They're so similar. Like I was struggling to figure out what is different between the two. So like Lonely Mountain Snow Riders is on Game Pass. I don't remember if Downhill is on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, just play Snow Riders. But in terms of like how they feel, it almost feels like the same game again. But I need to really kind of look up and see like what is new in this. I know this one has multiplayer. I can't remember if the first one has multiplayer, and I'm going to assume it doesn't, because the paths on the ski hill, they seem a lot wider than what I remember from Downhill. But I'm sure Downhill's also like stupid cheap, because that came out a few years ago. They came out with DLC for that. I played through those as well. Really good like podcast game, because there's not a lot of like music to listen to or like sound effects that you need to be paying attention to. You're just kind of like vibing down the hill, and it's cool. I really like those games, so I'm really glad it came out, and it's on Game Pass, so I basically kind of get it for free, kind of, free air quotes. The other game, and I just started it today, is Rift of the Necrodancer. This came out this week. Obviously kind of, spiritual successor to Curse of the Necrodancer, and then just, quick PSA for those who may probably own Curse, because that's been out for so long, and like who hasn't played Curse. If so there's like a 10% discount. I'm just talking about the Steam version. I don't think, actually, yeah, I think it's only out on Steam. It is announced for Switch, but I don't believe it's out on Switch yet. So Steam has, like the 10% launch sale. But if you own Curse or just Shapes and Beats, which is a totally different game, I didn't even understand that there was some kind of overlap there. I do like just Shapes and Beats. I own it on Xbox though. Maybe there's like a publishing deal or something. Anyway, if you own Curse of the Necrodancer or just Shapes and Beats in your Steam account, you get an additional 10% off. So you can get Rift of the Necrodancer for like $16 American, which is pretty cool. It is a lot different than Curse of the Necrodancer. Whereas, that's like a run-based dungeon crawler. Rift is kind of like a Guitar Hero. Like there's a note highway, a lane path, and you are hitting one of the three buttons or a combination of them when the enemies hit the little bottom part, similar to like Guitar Hero or Rock Band. It does also have some kind of little ancillary mini games that are very Rhythm Heaven-esque. So there's a bit going on there, but this is a hard rhythm game because you're attacking the enemies that are coming down the highway as the notes, but all the enemies, they interact differently. So for example, like the basic one is like a slime, and that one just takes like one hit to get. But the bats, you hit them once and then they move lanes quickly, and so the next beat you need to hit a different one. But then there's stuff where it's like some of the bats need to be hit 3 times. Some of the skeletons you hit them once and then they lose their head and they run forward and then they stop and then they keep coming down again. Or some of them have a shield, so you have to hit them twice. And then everything can also be on the offbeat, so you have to look at their shadows. So yeah, there's kind of a lot going on. I actually didn't even finish the tutorial. There's 3 tutorials. I did the first 2, and by that point I was like, okay, this is a lot to remember. I need to start putting this into practice. So I started going through the story mode. And there's also daily challenges and stuff, which is pretty cool as well. And then there's obviously just like kind of quick play. Just do you want to play a song? Go ahead. And it's a lot of the same music. I'm only a few stages in. It's a lot of the same music from Curse. Like the main Danny Baranowski one is like the first one you listen to. I'm assuming there's probably more and like new stuff as well, but I just haven't seen any of that yet. The story is also kind of interesting. It's like all the characters... like all the main characters from Curse have went through some portal and they're in the real world and they're like trying to get back. Like the Necrodancer himself works at like a fast food place. So that's just kind of fun and stuff. So yeah, I'm liking it. Obviously I really like rhythm games. I was pitching this to a friend and they thought it was more Rhythm Heaven than what I did explain. So if you're in the similar boat where you're looking for Rhythm Heaven, I'll give a quick shout out. Go play Melatonin. That's probably the best Rhythm Heaven knockoff I've come across in my time, and that came out like 2 or 3 years, probably about 2 years ago. So that's a cool one if you're just like really wanting rhythm games. But yeah, that's Rift of the Necrodancer. And that's pretty much all I've been playing. I played some Marvel Rivals. I haven't played the Mr. or Mrs. Fantastic because they came out, I think, when I was gone. Actually, it might have been even earlier, but I didn't play them. Playing a lot of Luna Snow right now. She's pretty good. I wish that game had play of the game. Yeah, at the end there, because it tells you which is the MVP, but then it doesn't really explain like why this person is the MVP. And, obviously I have like a big Overwatch background, so I really wish they were like, hey, show a really cool play from the MVP, but they don't really do that. And I know you can go in and like watch someone's highlights, but that takes so long to load. And I don't really want to just like pick a random person on my team's highlights. Like, just show me what was the best play of the game. I don't care if it was against me, if it was on my team, whatever. Like, so I wish they had play of the games. But anyways, that's a minor thing. I'm sure they'll add it sooner or later as they continue to copy Overwatch. Overwatch is a few years in. Okay, yeah, with that said, let's go through news. Obviously, there's been 3 weeks of news. I kind of just picked, some highlights from the 3 weeks. It's obviously not going to be 3 weeks long of news. This news segment is going to be 3 weeks long. But just the stuff that kind of jumped out at me. I think I put them pretty much in chronological order, but we're going to start with the Xbox Developer Direct that happened while I was away. They showed off. So if I remember we were talking about this. They were going to have 3 games and then like a mystery one, and we were trying to figure out. It's some like legendary Japanese IP was what they were saying. Turns out that was Ninja Gaiden. So they announced Ninja Gaiden 4. They also stealth dropped Ninja Gaiden Black 2. Is that am I getting the Ninja Gaiden? Oh, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Yeah, I mixed up the name. So that's already out. I think that might be on Game Pass. Yeah, and that is on Game Pass. So I should probably check that out. I'm not a huge Ninja Gaiden guy, but it's on Game Pass, so I'm losing money not trying that. The rest of the showcase, as we knew, it was Doom. It was South of Midnight, which looks so cool. I just love that art style. And then Expedition 33, which I'm still like very like optimistic for, despite like not really knowing a whole lot. Dark Ages looks cool. And then the big kind of reveal with that was they were saying, hey, we kind of slowed things down since Eternal, which I know a lot of people, that was kind of the complaint with Eternal, is there was just so much kind of momentum and stuff, and it kind of changed the game. This is a lot slower. That shield looks pretty awesome. But I think like the big exciting thing was that thing's out in May. Like holy smokes, like Xbox, their games are like starting to come out now, because we got Avowed coming out in a couple weeks, and then a couple months we got Doom the Dark Ages, and then South of Midnight's in April. Oh, Expedition also got a release date. What was that? What's the release date for that one? I mean, is that also April? Hang on. Holy smokes, it's also April. That's like 2 weeks later. Jeez, man. Like, I know January was a little bit slow, but coming back, and then I had like 4 games waiting on my Xbox and PC to be playing. Like, yeah, this is cool. We're about to feast, my friends. So that was the developer direct. I thought that was a pretty good one. Beyond Two Souls is getting a movie. Like, what? Sorry, not a movie, a TV series. TV series. It's being adapted by Elliot Page's company, Page Boy. I didn't know that was even. I didn't know they had a company, but that makes sense. Beyond Two Souls is a weird fucking game. So, I mean, the game did also have Willem Dafoe. That would be awesome if they get him in there as well. I don't know much. He doesn't do a lot of TV these days. Elliot Page certainly does TV, because they were just doing Umbrella Academy for the past few years. Has Elliot Page done a movie lately? What's Elliot Page been up to? Is it just Umbrella Academy? Let's go look at their IMDb real quick. Oh, are they in the Ark cartoon? A couple episodes of the Ark cartoon last year. But yeah, they've been doing the Umbrella Academy. What is Close to You? That looks like a movie. A Netflix movie, I think. Maybe not. Anyway, so I guess they've been doing stuff. I haven't heard of this. But anyways, Beyond Two Souls TV show. All I remember about that game is that there's like a weird ghost that hangs around with Elliot the whole time and can like save them or protect them. And then like the back third of the game is like a war thing. Oh, I don't. That was such a weird game. I don't remember much of it at all, but I did play through all of it. Yeah, Quantum Dreams. What's the name of that studio again? Let's see if this thing is. I think it's Quantic Dreams. Quantic Dream. Yeah, that's a weird. What have they been up to? Anyway, I'm not gonna look that up. In what I think is some of the coolest news, I loved learning about this when I was traveling. The Video Game History Foundation basically put together the Video Game History Museum Library Digital Archive. This is now available to the public, where they have digitized just an absolute shit ton of video game, like press content, expo content, magazines. I think that's kind of the one that's getting the most stuff is magazines. Like, I'm a little bummed that Nintendo Power wasn't in here, but maybe there was some like rights things about that. But like they got like every issue of like Electronic Gaming Monthly is in here, and it's all searchable. Like they've just digitized all of this, all the official Xbox magazine. They got the official US PlayStation magazine. They got 10 years of it. Like, it's PlayStation, the official magazine is there too. PC Gamer. It's kind of ridiculous, this thing. And obviously Games Informer is there, and you can just kind of go in there. You can just search keywords. You can just read the entire issue. This is incredible. Like, wow, this is so cool. Like, as someone who's like, obviously I don't collect magazines. Who has space for that? But like, I have bought just random old magazines from like thrift stores or wonders. Like, oh, here's an old Nintendo Power. Let's just see what they were talking about in like '98 or something. And then yeah, like this is so cool. And they've done that so that the magazines is the big draw. But like I said, what was this X one like? Sorry, I'm going back. Electronic, yeah, the E3 directories. These are crazy. Like, holy, this is if you're just like a video game like history nerd and you just want to like this is 286 pages from the Atlanta 98 E3 Expo. Like, wow, this is absolutely insane. Like, yeah, it is kind of mind-boggling that they have put this together. If this is something of interest to you, I know the Video Game History Foundation does. You can donate to them, so maybe take that into consideration. But like, this is just such a cool, nostalgia-based like program that they have put together. It is so cool. And yeah, as someone who grew up with like video game magazines, that this is awesome. All right. Let's talk about the future games. Summer Game Fest is coming back. They've announced some of the plans have been revealed. June 6th, I believe. Yeah, so that's when the live stream kickoff is going to happen. That happens every year. It'll be 2 hours. Summer Game Fest live kickoff show take place on June 6th from 5 to 7 Eastern time. I guess I need to start like internalizing some of these times. Okay, so that would be 2 to 4 for me hopefully when I'm down there. And then there'll be the annual Play Days media event, which would be that weekend from the 7th to the 9th. Oh yeah, they do Monday as well now. So hopefully I'm going to that. I always enjoy going to Summer Game Fest. I'll keep an eye on my inbox. But yeah, of course that's happening. But kind of alongside this, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because it's pretty kind of the same topic. I'll just read the Blue Sky tweet, whatever it's called. ESA announces Interactive Innovation Conference, which shortens to ICON or Econ. There's 2 I's. I don't know. Taking place in Las Vegas, April 27th to 30th. This will be of next year, 2026. So this would be like a spiritual successor to E3, since it's the ESA putting this on. What makes this noteworthy is companies attending include Amazon Games, Disney, EA, Epic, Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony, Square Enix, Take-Two, Ubisoft, and WB. So they got the platforms, which that was part of the reason E3 was dying, is every platform holder was leaving. And even Summer Game Fest doesn't have the 3 platforms. Like, it has. Sony sometimes has a small presence. Last year they were showing off Astrobot and Lego Horizons. I don't think they were there the previous 2 years. I don't believe Microsoft has ever been there, because Microsoft does their own event on the same weekend as well. And then Nintendo, Nintendo's not there because Nintendo like doesn't do events outside of like indie events. Like, they always have like an indie event during GDC and stuff. But like, it's Nintendo. They don't have to do anything. They could. People are going to listen to Nintendo no matter what, So it's in Vegas, as opposed to LA. Maybe it's just cheaper. I know one of the other reasons that people didn't care for E3, or they kept pulling out, was the booth spaces were crazy expensive. So I'm not sure how this has changed, if that's what's going on. But I guess something to just kind of like keep an eye on for next year, if this is something worth going to. It's in April, which is kind of an odd time. So that, GDC, which is not a news event, but I'm just trying to think of like big game of events. So GDC's in March, so this would be a month after that, and then 2 months later is Summer Game Fest. Yeah, I don't, because always hear the developers are saying when they have to put like these like vertical slices together for the conventions, it's like a big lift. So I would maybe wonder, like, they would bring the demos get them ready for this, and then they bring them to Summer Game Fest or whatever? Or is there going to be like multiple, are we going to get their keynotes again and the live streams during this time? Because then I can't imagine they'll have more stuff to show 2 months later. It's weird. I don't know. I guess it's worth watching. And yeah, and hey, maybe I'll get to go. Fingers crossed. I love going to game conventions, so I'm always happy to go cover a game convention. All right, going back. Forza Horizon 5 is coming to PlayStation 5 this spring, which this is another like heavy hitter Microsoft, property that's going multi-platform. And actually, if we go back to the developer direct, I'm curious. Are those all coming to PlayStation as well? I'm just trying to look at the end of some of the trailers. So South of Midnight, this only has Steam and Xbox. I don't think Expedition is a first party. Oh, actually, it also says Xbox and Game Pass. What about Doom? Does Doom? So at the end of the Doom trailer, it does say PlayStation 5. I would have to assume, like, at this point, I'm kind of gonna believe everything is going to come to PlayStation 5. Like, because they're starting to do like day and date stuff as well, like with Doom. I guess the big one would be like there's a Gears on the book, which is that like E-Day prequel one. But anyway, yeah, Forza Horizon 5 is coming this spring. Did they give a released an actual date? As I go through this article, maybe it says oh, this is the launch trailer. So that would be a long time ago. It just says release later this year in the spring. Most up to date version with all the DL packs to buy separately. The port is being done by Panic Button, so not Playground Games, who are the main developers. So they're outsourcing it to like a porting house, which is pretty standard. But yeah, that's a big one. And the whole kind of thing was like, PlayStation has Gran Turismo, Xbox has Forza, and then I know Forza Motorsport is kind of the more one-to-one comparison, and then Horizon is the arcade offshoot. So I guess, but it's still just bringing it over. Like, I mean, whatever, man. Every game should come out everywhere. Who cares? Let people play games. Except for Multiverses, which you're not going to be able to play for much longer. So Multiverses, if to just catch you up, came out last summer maybe, in a quote-unquote beta, even though they sold season passes for it, or battle passes for it. And then they took it offline to rebuild it. They totally new engine, brought it back, and I can't remember if people were happy about it. I didn't hear like anything really when it came back. Anyways, it is shutting down for good after season 5. I'll read the quote here. Multiverses season 5 may be the final season. I'm pretty sure it's confirmed. Oh, sorry. This article is announcing when it was rumored, and then they did update it. So let me go to the update one. So yeah, season 5 will serve as the final update for Multiverses. The season will run from February 4th to May 30th. After that day, the game will be taken offline, with the game only playable in an offline state. At that point, there will be an option to play Multiverses offline via the local gameplay mode, either solo against AI opponents or with up to 3 friends. Yada, yada, yada. To do this, you'll need to download the latest version of the game, and log in during Season 5 at any time between February 4th and May 30th. So there you go. I mean, I guess they tried it, and then it didn't quite work. Multiverses got further than a lot of ones. Like, it went offline and came back, which I can't think of that ever happening. I know that was a possibility for Concord, and that didn't happen. So, they got 2 shots. I guess it just wasn't in the cards. But yeah, for season 5. Who did I like playing as? Finn. Yeah, Finn was really fun to play as. People are asking, didn't Final Fantasy XIV do that? They did. I don't know if it went offline and came back, but they definitely fixed it. They turned it around. But that was so long ago, because it's been great forever. And I think of things like Siege. I don't think Siege ever went offline, and they fixed that. Same with No Man's Sky. I don't believe that went offline. They just kind of fixed it. I don't remember if 14 fully went away, but it could. I mean, I wasn't paying attention to 14, especially when people did not like it. All right, a couple topics here with Mass Effect. So BioWare went through some layoffs and transitions. They laid off a handful of people. They transitioned other people onto different properties in EA, which was the quote. And I think I heard sending people to work on Skate and stuff. A lot of this had to deal with Dragon Age, Veilguard missing sales expectations, which is a bummer to hear. And then there was this ancillary kind of news story alongside this where the head of EA was somewhat quoted saying oh, it should have been a live service game. It probably would have found a bigger audience. But then I think that's been confirmed. That's not quite what he said, because that is ridiculous. in fact, Veilguard was originally built as like a live service game, and they stripped all of that stuff out. And I think Veilguard's pretty great. So, but I guess it missed sales targets, and so BioWare has had some layoffs, which is odd because you would think like, hey, it's Mass Effect, let's get all hands on deck. But their quote is like, we don't need this many people on the game, which I can't imagine that's true. This has to be a cost cutting measure. It's layoffs, but yeah. Anyway, that's what's going on with Mass Effect 5. So I would now say I am worried about what Mass Effect 5 is going to be, unless it's not coming out anytime soon. Then that's fine, but usually they need to kind of push things along and get some money coming in. So we'll see, and pour one out for all the people who lost their jobs. Speaking of which, Iron Galaxy. We just talked about port studios. Iron Galaxy is a very common company that does a lot of ports. I think they most recently did The Last of Us remaster, the PC version. And then, they've had some of their own titles, Rumbleverse, which went offline. They laid off 66 developers in a, quote, last resort life-saving effort. The quote here is, this was a means of last resort for us. It's a measure we do not take lightly to enable our long-term survival. What I find noteworthy about this specific layoff is that Iron Galaxy had always positioned itself as, like, obviously, I have a background enjoying Giant Bomb, and then they have a connection with Dave Lang, who is one of the co-founders and CEOs of Iron Galaxy, and he would often say, like, he created Iron Galaxy because he was tired of working at places where everyone was getting laid off. And they had a pretty incredible track record of not going through layoffs with, like, the pandemic and stuff, so it seemed pretty sturdy. But if this is a last resort measure, life-saving effort, I have to assume that studio is in pretty dire straits, considering they were very much like, we are drawing a line in the sand, we are not doing layoffs. So just another example of this industry is crumbling. And yeah, I don't know, man, it's depressing. It's depressing to look at. Okay, let's talk about some Nintendo stuff. They had was it a shareholders meeting? What was this announced? The headline here is Pokemon Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4 are still Switch 1 titles, says Nintendo. And I know there was a following quote saying that they're still going to support the Switch 1 even as the Switch 2 comes out. So I have two thoughts. My first thought is, like, I hope these are split generation games. Thank you. Some Phantom Agent in the chat says their third quarter report. Yeah, is where this was announced. I hope these are split generation games where it'll play better on my Switch 2. I want to play it on the better console. I hope it is not just kind of a like Game Boy DS scenario where they were still putting out some Game Boy games, but they were also putting out separate DS games. Like, I hope these titles are not stuck on the Switch. I don't want to have a Switch 2 and yet still for some reason have a reason to keep my Switch 1 out of a box. Like, I need to use it. I don't want that to be the case. That would just be weird. So to me, that says that these would have to be kind of split generation. And whether that's like, if it was Xbox, they would print like one disc. You would buy the game once and it would work on both. There's no way Nintendo's doing that. There is going to be like two separate boxed copies at the GameStop, the Switch version, the Switch 2 version, and they will never meet. That's probably what that's going to be. But yeah, I I understand supporting the previous generation. The install base is massive, especially with the Switch. It is massive. Like, someone sent in some like NDA numbers and it was like 150 million it just hit or something like that. So by only putting it on the new one, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. But one of the quotes here is also that there are going to be exclusive titles for the Switch 2, because they were saying that's how they like ensure that thing is going to like sell well and be profitable, is that they're going to force people to upgrade. Definitely a different mindset from like Xbox, where they're just like, you buy it once, you can play it anywhere, who cares, you get whatever version, and which is definitely more consumer friendly. But I would argue that Nintendo is the least consumer friendly of the three platform holders. So I guess we'll see what happens there. Okay, I have to jump around a bit because I kind of have been jumping around. Let's stick with Nintendo news. Switch 2, a patent came out today, kind of basically confirming that the new Joy-Cons are mice, do function as mice. So there's a set of images here where they have them sideways, just like we saw in the reveal trailer where they were zooming around, and someone's kind of using the the shoulder buttons as like a mouse button, and then they can also have access to the analog stick with their thumb. You could even use both the bumper and the trigger R1, R2 with either of your fingers. So it looks like it's just a mouse. There's also patents here for like one is being a mouse and the other one is being held like a typical controller, so you can kind of do some dual stuff away, or two mice. This hadn't been confirmed anyway, but they have patented it, so I feel like it's all, but it is basically confirmed at this point. So it's kind of cool to get some confirmation there. And with my last news story here, speaking of confirmation, Take-Two reconfirms that Grand Theft Auto 6 will release this fall. Okay, like they're kind of doubling down on it, so like I guess we'll see. I mean, I know this probably means nothing. Maybe they just had like shareholders or people looking at them, so they had to say something. They could always delay it. If anyone could delay a game, Rockstar would be fine. They're not gonna get. They're doing plenty fine for money. So anyway, we'll see. I know we did predictions during the Game of the Year show, and I cannot remember what I said. But I'm sure someone in the chat will. But I'll look that up next year. But it says it's coming out this year, so we'll find out. We will find out. In the chat, confirmation that Sean can go to the Switch 2 event. That's right. And I did post about this on the Blue Sky. I got into that Nintendo Switch 2 experience thing, like the public thing, and it wasn't through any kind of like press credentials. I just went in the lottery like everyone else, and I got approved. So I'm trying very hard to go cover that thing in LA. In April when all those games are coming out. So hopefully I get to go there and shoot some video and be on camera, obviously, but that would be very cool. So I'm honestly pretty surprised that I got in. Like, what are the odds of that, right? So we'll see. But anyways, that's it for the news. Those are the highlights, basically. I'm going to not do questions because I want John, at least John or Paul, to be here so we get more answers. I don't want to go through a bunch of questions and just kind of burn them with you guys only getting one answer, you guys not getting a discussion. So I'll save those for next week. I think everyone's back next week, last I heard. So yeah, like I said, shorter episode because it's just me. But I just it's been 3 weeks. I wanted to podcast. I wanted to get something out in the feed for you guys. But that's going to pretty much do it. But if you do want to send in questions, as always, topdownperspective@gmail.com, at TDP Podcast on Blue Sky, the Discord channel, or John's P.O. Box are how you guys can send questions in. If you already have sent ones in for the last few weeks, don't send more in until we get through them, because otherwise we'll just delete some of those. Game of the week. All right. I'm gonna give it to Lonely Mountain Downhill. That is just such like a game that I really like want and like kind of need right now. It's like a really great, just kind of turn your brain off. I'm just gonna go down this hill and just chill out game. So that one's like really working for me. So that's my game of the week. Anyways, thanks everyone for listening. I'm glad I figured out Twitch a little better this time. It looks like the chat was working great. So that's good. And yeah, we'll see you next week.